Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Dear Fear book interview series. I am so excited to be able to present this amazing project and ministry to each and every one of you. Make sure that you are on the VIP list at dearfearbook.com. And today we have the amazing Jarvis Henderson here to tell us all about his story and how he's triumphed through fear in the new upcoming book, Dear Fear Men. But for those of you that don't know who we are, listen, my name is Tiana Patrice, and I'm the visionary of this amazing ministry on the move, Dear Fear, where we have launched more than 50 ambitious leaders who have told their stories of how they've triumphed over fear and began to live their best life on the other side of it. So make sure that you join us over on dearfearbook.com. To date, we've launched over 50 authors in 15 states and 3 countries, and we're not slowing down. So if you're interested in being a part of the movement, make sure that you join the VIP list at dearfearbook.com so that you can learn more. Now, Jarvis, hello, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you doing today?
I am doing very, very well. Very excited to be able to bring you on for everyone to be able to hear more about you. This is all about you and your journey of binding up fear and living your best life on the other side. So let's kind of go ahead and jump into it. Why did you even say yes to this ministry, to this opportunity to be able to share your story with leaders all over the world?
Well, I said yes. And just to give like a quick backstory on it, when I first met you, we did a conference together up in DC. And I believe it was Unleash Your Fearless and Go Do Something. And so it was like you started and I finished. And then I gravitated to the whole concept of it, just watching your presentation. And I saw how powerful it was. And in that powerful presentation that you gave, all I kept thinking was like, man, there's so many men out here that could probably relate and would need to get their story out. So I don't know if you remember, but when you finished and we had a chance to talk, I was like, man, if you ever want to do this with men, I'm definitely in. Count me in. So that was my first yes. The second yes was when you actually let me know that you were launching it. And I was like, that's a no-brainer. Yes, I'm in. Count it all joy. Let's make it happen. And it was more so because, again, like I saw the passion that you had behind what you did with the women's part of the project. And I saw the necessity for us as men to really open our mouths, allow our voices to be heard, and to start impacting the lives of these men that are out here, whether it's old or young. And that was the easy part. That was definitely the easy part. So that was why I gave my yes. Now, had I known everything that came with the yes, I still would have did it. So, but yeah, that was my yes.
Well, let's talk about that. So that was the perfect segue because I'm over here literally just like hollering in my soul because everyone says, I gave my yes. I knew that God told me to be a part of this. Had I known, but that's just like life, right? If we
Right.
know what our yes is going to entail, what we'll have to sacrifice, what we'll have to break through, what we'll have to bind up, God doesn't need our help in that area, right? So he knows that if
Right.
he tells us everything that our yes will be attached to, we'll probably say no. So let's talk about what came with your yes. So you said yes to this project and then you had to do the work. Let's talk about that. What did the work look like for you?
The work, it's really funny because like actually writing the chapter, when you think about just sitting down and just writing, that's the easy part. The hard part is revisiting all those places that you left behind. Like you hear that there's that phrase where you don't pay attention to what's in um the rear view mirror, you pay attention to what's in the windshield. And I had to spend a lot of time. It's almost like driving, just looking in the rear view mirror and doing that. It's a little scary. Hence we're doing this, the Dear Fair project, but you have to face things that you feel like you just drove past and left in the past. And that was the challenging part for me, was revisiting things, reopening wounds, reopening doors to things that I just didn't want to deal with, that I didn't want to talk about, that I didn't want to think about. And that's when I said, if I knew what came on the other side of that yes, then I would definitely still do it. But I would have definitely counted the cost. Like I'd have taken a minute just to be like, hey, okay, God, like I know you're telling me to do this, but I really don't want to deal with that. I don't want to look at this. And so it was it was nothing that I wouldn't recommend that somebody else go through, meaning that there was so much freedom on the other end of revisiting those times in my life where maybe I was hurt, or maybe I was violated, or I was abused, or I allowed fear to hold me captive in certain places. And it felt good once I got to a place that I could actually get it all out there. But there was still a part of me that was reserved on, I don't even want to look at it again. I don't want to read it again. I don't want to go through all this again. So that yes there's a lot that came with it. But the thing that really kept me going was the thought that my nephew or my niece could read my chapter and it could completely change the trajectory of their life. Or some young man or some young woman that's out there may come across my chapter and be like, you know what, this sounds like me. I need this in my life. And those are the things that kept me going. I started thinking more about who was going to read the letters that are on this page and whose lives are they going to impact. So once that happened, it made it smooth sailing for me to continue to move. I say smooth sailing, but it was like smooth sailing with a lot of stops.
And a lot of punches from your coach.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But you're here. And one of the things that you said so much just then, one, I would have counted all the costs. One, that's biblical, right? So count all the costs. But a lot of
Right.
times we won't count up all the costs until we give our yes. I need somebody to catch that. And so now, God, I'm giving my yes. And wait a minute, all these costs, these sacrifices, everything. But one of the things you said was, God, I didn't want to deal with that. So I just moved on. How many of us, how many of you that are watching right now, you just moved on from the trauma. You just moved on through the things that, attempted to stop you because you had to build a family. You had to build a life. You had to build a career. And so when we come and we look and we really think about these things, many of us are living our lives as a lie because we have built the life on top of unhealed wounds. And so this project makes you have to look back in the rearview mirror at the things that you walked away from that you didn't deal with. And God says, I can't heal what you don't want to deal with. I can't heal what you won't admit, what you won't go back and look in the closet and dig under that rug, right? So this experience, this project is notorious for making people have to go back to the closet, go back to that rug that our families, right? Because we you sweep it under the rug, we go back to that rug and we find that stuff underneath the rug and we burn it. So with that being said, let's talk about the stuff that you've had to burn, the things that you found in your rearview mirror. So let's go into your chapter. And for those of you that think you're about to get all of this goodness without going to get that book, no ma'am, no him, no turkey. Go right on over to dearfearbook.com and sign up for the VIP list so you can be the first to know when we launch this amazing book, Dear Fear Men. So Jarvis, take us on into your chapter and what you had to come back to the realization of, right? So what is the name of your chapter?
So the name of my chapter is Dear Fear, You Can't Have My Destiny Because I'm Destined for Greatness.
Wow, Dear Fear, you can't have my destiny because I am destined for greatness. There is so much power in the I am. I love that. So tell us what is your chapter about?
It is the best way to say it is like if you ever really wanted to get the juice on my life, like if you ever wanted to be in the gossip, this is definitely a chapter that you want to read. It takes you from my childhood and the first things that happened, the things that kind of put me on a path that may not have been the path that I wanted to be on, but I was following it anyways because I was I was held captive by fear. It talks about how I experienced being introduced to porn at a very young age and being sexually violated as a child, by both men and women, to just dealing with racism and the things that you see face to face, dealing with things in the family. I'm not going to give you the specifics, but I'm going to give you like the bits and pieces because this is like what it's all about. It's us facing these things and saying, hey, this is where fear, fear tricked me. I felt like fear was my friend, but fear wasn't my friend. Fear lied to me. Fear was like, I got you now. It's like the greatest deceiver. It's false evidence appearing to be real. It's whatever that's out there that's on our minds that's being painted on the canvas of our imagination that holds us in place, and that's what my chapter is all about. And so the destined for greatness, that's something that my mom has said to me my entire life. When I would be in a place where fear had me, or when I was hurt or I was broken, and I'd be like, Mom, but I don't understand this, and she'd be like, baby, don't worry about it. You're destined for greatness. God's got a greater plan for you. And so it's like you get all of that and you understand why that phrase, why that title of the chapter means so much to me. And it doesn't stop at my childhood. It take you even on into adulthood, touching a little bit on marriage and divorce and just life after, and just continuing to be a man that is after God's own heart, regardless of the mistakes that I may make along the way, continuing to keep God at the forefront of my mind, and my heart. So.
That's it. Wow. Y'all listen, you got to head over to dearfearbook.com. Dearfearbook.com. Listen, he got me over here like, wow, I know what the chapter is and I'm ready to go get the book myself. So to grab your copy of Dear Fear for Men when we launch. You know, Jarvis, you said one of the most key things, that it's very important that you that's watching, that you understand why this ministry is so important, is that there's you know, the difference between just the emotion of fear and the spirit of fear. And that the spirit of fear is deceptive, because it's been created by the father of lies, which is the enemy. And so his role is to come in and create an echo in your life, and that echo in your ear that sounds like your voice, that continues to tell you what you can't do, what you'll never be, right? So you'll never be good enough. You can't do this. You'll never be, I've heard, you'll never be a man. All these different things that follow you from childhood into adulthood, into that marriage. And then when you begin to break things down and you begin to identify and recognize where the enemy came in your childhood, this is what this project does for people as well, so that you can go ahead and burn the root, not clip the root, but burn the root. So like you said, your nephews and your generations to come will not have to deal with the same things you dealt with, because you had the courage to stand up and tell your story. And we know that our story gives God the glory, and he's not ashamed of it. So Jarvis, we thank you so much for your time today. We thank you so much for sharing and being a part of this ministry. Let me ask you this: what do you hope people gain from reading your chapter?
I hope that from my chapter that they gain a piece of freedom. You know, I know that there are other chapters that are in this book, but I know that there are those that are going to read my story, they're going to connect with my story, and they're going to start that breakthrough that they need. And they're going to start a journey on their own to change the trajectory of their life. And that's really my hope, is that my testimony, you know, helps set them free. You know, it's like the scripture that says, we have overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So that means that Jesus did his part. And the other parts of that is me putting my story out there so that it'll help others to overcome. And that is really what I hope will come from my story.
Amen. So thank you again for joining us. Hey, y'all, go on over to dearfearbook.com to learn more about this amazing ministry on the move and be the first to know when we launch. We have so many more interviews coming your way from Dear Fear Men and our volume 4, where we highlight our Dear Fear women as well. Now, Jarvis, how can all of these amazing people learn more about you? Where should they follow you?
Well, what I need you to do is get your pen and paper. This is very complicated. All right. JarvisHenderson.com. That is JarvisHenderson.com. That is my website. That'll take you straight to me. It has all of my social media connections on there as well. If you just go straight to social media, IG and Facebook are both Jarvis Henderson. And then if you're a Snapchat, Twitter person, Jarvis Inspires.
Perfect. All right, y'all. Well, you heard it best. JarvisHenderson.com. Go follow him on all social media platforms, but make sure that you're on the VIP list at dearfearbook.com, so you'll be the first to know when we launch, and you can be the first to read Jarvis's story. We'll be back to you soon with some more amazing interviews, but until then, we'll see you next time on the other side of fear.